Hey guys, tonight we begin with the rowdy, smoky and slightly sticky world of the medieval tavern, the unsung heart of every town, the unofficial news centre, and the only place where a knight, a farmer and a bard could all get equally drunk and equally robbed. It wasn't just a place to drink, it was a place where danger, laughter and disease mingled freely beneath a thatched roof. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You've trudged through a muddy street that smells like a blend of horse, smoke, and questionable soup. It's raining, of course, or just finished, so everything's slick, including your only pair of shoes. You're tired, you're hungry, and you've nearly been run over by a cart full of turnips twice. You need a drink. So how do you find a tavern in a medieval town? There are no glowing signs, no Yelp reviews, and certainly no GPS. What you do have are your ears. Just follow the noise. Somewhere, past the blacksmith's forge and the fishmonger yelling about his fresh river eels, is a chorus of laughter, shouting, and someone aggressively singing about a goose. And there it is. A crooked wooden building, leaning slightly as if even the architecture has had one too many. Hanging above the door is a wooden sign, barely legible, with a crude painting of... Is that a barrel? Or a bear? Or maybe both? Either way, this is it. Welcome to the tavern. The front step is slick with ale, and as you push open the heavy, iron-hinged door, it lets out a creak so long and dramatic it might qualify as its own form of entertainment. Instantly, warm air and the rich perfume of smoke, wet wool, stale beer, and mystery meat hit your face like a drunken handshake. You've made it. Inside, the ceiling is low enough to make tall men duck and drunk men bump their heads. The floor is dirt. Not metaphorically, literally, though someone's laid down straw in an attempt to pretend it's cleaner. It isn't. There are no private booths, no waiters with menus, and no such thing as quiet conversation. This is a medieval tavern, and it only comes in two settings: rowdy and closed due to fire. You spot an open seat at a lopsided bench near the hearth, but it's wet. With what, you don't ask. Someone nearby is arguing about a stolen chicken. Another is passed out with a ladle still in his hand. A one-eyed dog gnaws on a bone under a table like he pays rent there. And this, friend, is just the entrance. You've only just arrived, and already it smells like a night to remember, or forget. As the heavy tavern door slams shut behind you, the darkness wraps around your senses like a damp wool blanket, warm, uncomfortable, and slightly suspicious. Your eyes adjust slowly. Candlelight flickers against soot-stained walls, casting dancing shadows that make even the chairs look like they might pick a fight. The hearth blazes in the far corner, doubling as both heating and open-flame hazard. Smoke drifts lazily in the air, not quite escaping through the chimney that might be stuffed with a dead crow. But what hits you hardest isn't the noise or the heat, it's the smell. A medieval tavern's scent is less aromatic and more emotional trauma. The top notes are ale, warm, sour, and splashed liberally across every surface. Beneath that, sweat, years of it, human, horse, and maybe something mythical. Add a hint of mouldy bread, wet straw, and a whisper of boiled onions, and you have a blend no perfumer has dared bottle. The tables are carved with years of initials, crude drawings and knife scars. They wobble with a kind of stubborn pride. The benches creak under the weight of muddy boots, thick cloaks and questionable decisions. The floor? Dirt as promised, but layered with straw meant to soak up spills, spit, and the occasional unconscious customer. You step carefully. One wrong move and your foot sinks into something with a texture best left undescribed. The crowd is a living, breathing organism. Loud laughter erupts in one corner, while two men argue about the price of a pig in another. A woman slams a mug down hard enough to spill half her drink, and no one even flinches. A man at the next table stares at you with the dazed look of someone who's either thinking very deeply or forgetting how chairs work. Someone nearby sneezes. The entire left side of the room collectively leans away. And still, despite the overwhelming assault on your modern sensibilities, there's something welcoming here. The tavern is alive. It's rough, raw, and completely unfiltered. The medieval version of a community hub, minus the hygiene, and with 400% more shouting. You find your seat. It's a bit damp. It's probably cursed. But for now, it's yours. At first glance, the tavern's layout looks like someone arranged the furniture during an earthquake, and then just decided to leave it that way. There's no blueprint, no bar area, no cozy booths in the back. Just a sprawling, uneven spillage of tables, benches, barrels, and the occasional wooden crate being passed off as a seat. Everything is too close together or too far apart, depending on how drunk you are. The hearth is the only real centerpiece, a big open fire roaring against one wall, doing its best to provide warmth, light, and a healthy dose of indoor smoke inhalation. Around it, people crowd in for comfort, like moths with mugs. Those with the best seats hog the warmth. Those without? Well, that's what ale is for. The bar, if you can call it that, is usually just a thick wooden plank resting across two barrels, sagging under the weight of jugs, mugs, and elbows. Behind it stands the tavern keeper, multitasking between pouring drinks, yelling orders, and giving that one guy in the corner the death stare of, "You still haven't paid for last Tuesday." There are no menus. You ask what's available and brace yourself. The answer is usually ale or shut up and wait. A narrow staircase, possibly original, definitely splintery, leads to the upstairs rooms. If you squint, you can see a boot hanging from one of the railing posts. No one's entirely sure if it's decorative or a warning. Some taverns have a back room. It might be for storage. It might be for illegal gambling. Or it might be where the last person who insulted the barmaid was taken, never to be seen again. It's best not to ask. The walls are stained with candle soot, the windows are covered with greasy cloth or animal hide, and every surface has been thoroughly polished by the elbows, boots, and spilled drinks of generations past. And maybe a chicken. Somehow, despite the chaos, or because of it, it works. Everyone knows where to go, how to sit, when to shout, and when to duck. It's not organised, but it is alive. Every medieval tavern has a ruler, and it's not the local lord or the tax collector. It's the tavern keeper. They may not wear a crown, but don't be fooled. This person runs the show. Equal parts chef, server, accountant, babysitter, and executioner of barroom justice. The tavern keeper is a one-person institution, and they take no nonsense. If it's a man, he's likely built like a barrel with arms, grizzled, grumpy, and carved from cured meat and bad decisions. If it's a woman, and often it is, she's sharper than a blacksmith's file, and can silence a room with a single look. Either way, they've seen everything, heard worse, and cleaned blood out of straw before breakfast. They greet regulars with a nod, strangers with suspicion, and troublemakers with a tankard to the head. Behind the bar, they keep mental tabs on who's paid, who owes, and who's had 3 too many. And they do it all without writing anything down. Because medieval literacy might be rare, but tavern memory is terrifying. The tavern keeper sets the tone. If they're in a good mood, the place hums. If they're in a bad mood, you'd better drink fast and keep your jokes to yourself. They're the referee in every argument, the judge in every cheating scandal, and the first to grab a club when a fight breaks out. You do not mess with the tavern keeper. They also know everything. Who's in debt, who's having an affair, who arrived in town under a false name. Need information? Bribe the barkeep? Need protection? Sit near them? Need a favour? Better hope you didn't break a mug last week. Some have a helper, a son, daughter, spouse, or orphan they sort of adopted, and now make carry barrels twice their weight. These assistants run drinks, mop floors, and try not to spill anything or get stepped on by drunks. So while the tavern may feel like chaos to you, it's actually a very delicate ecosystem. And in the centre, commanding it all like a storm god in an apron, stands the one person keeping the ale flowing and the roof from collapsing into a riot, the tavern keeper. So, you finally settle onto a creaky bench, dodging elbows and spilled stew. Your throat's dry, your boots are damp, and it's time for the main event, the drink. But don't expect a wine list or a polished mug. This is a medieval tavern. Your choices are limited, lukewarm, and possibly life-threatening. Let's start with the classic, ale. Unfiltered, unpasteurized, and usually brewed in the back room where the dog sleeps. It's thick, cloudy, and often comes with floaties, bits of grain, yeast, or possibly a chunk of the previous customer's moustache. It's not cold because there's no ice. And you don't ask how long it's been sitting in the barrel. You just drink and hope. Next up, mead, honey wine. Sounds fancy, right? In reality, it's sweet, strong, and occasionally explosive. If the tavern keeper made it themselves, it might be delicious, or it might taste like regret and bee venom. It's usually served to nobles, wedding guests, or that one bard who insists on being paid in gold or mead. Then there's cider, made from apples that were either freshly picked or dropped on the ground 3 weeks ago. Sharp, tangy, and served in cracked mugs that may double as soup bowls by morning. It's the drink of choice in orchard-rich regions, or for those who want something just alcoholic enough to forget the smell of the man sitting beside them. Wine? Technically, yes. But unless you're in southern Europe or the nobility's in town, it's likely watered down, soured, and served with a side of sarcasm. Good wine is reserved for lords, bishops, and the merchant who just sold 12 crates of salt. And water? That's a bold choice, because half the time it's teeming with invisible death. Boiling costs fuel, and clean wells are rare. That's why even children drink ale. It's not about the buzz, it's about not dying of dysentery before age 8. No one's measuring shots or crafting cocktails here. You drink from mugs made of wood, clay, or tin. Some still have last night's stew in them. You raise your mug, sniff it, and sip. It's warm, it's bitter, and somehow it's perfect. Because in the medieval tavern, if it's wet and won't kill you immediately, it's a fine vintage. So you've survived the drink? Barely. Now your stomach growls, reminding you that you haven't eaten since sunrise, and your last meal was mostly barley and sadness. Time to eat. But don't get excited. There's no menu, no waiter, and absolutely no one asking if you have any dietary restrictions. You don't order food in a medieval tavern. You ask what's left, then hope it's hot and only vaguely mysterious. The star of the tavern table is usually pottage, a thick stew made from whatever grains, vegetables, and questionable proteins were lying around that day. It's been cooking in the same pot since Monday, and it's now Thursday. New ingredients are added daily. Nothing is removed. It's less of a meal and more of a culinary time capsule. If meat is involved, congratulations. It's probably rabbit, pigeon, or the unlucky chicken who wandered too close to the fire. If it's game meat, it might be delicious. Or it might be aged past reason and seasoned with desperation. Your bowl is made of wood or clay. Your spoon? Either your own or your fingers. Most people carry their own knife, so eating is a BYO cutlery affair. And don't expect napkins, just the sleeve of your tunic or a shared rag that's seen things it'll never forget. Bread is also on offer. It's tough, dark, and heavy, more a weapon than a food. If it's soft, it was baked today. If it's hard, it was baked last week. Either way, it pairs well with cheese that smells like an old boot and has started developing its own personality. Sometimes there's salted fish, sometimes pickled eggs. Occasionally you'll find a tavern offering a special, which is just a fancier way of saying, we had too much of this lying around. Flavour, optional, texture, unpredictable. Still, in the flickering firelight, with noise all around and the warmth of food in your hands, it's not bad. It's filling. It's hot. And if you don't think too hard about what's floating in your bowl, it might even be comforting. You're not here for fine dining. You're here to eat like a survivor. Once you've found your seat, ideally one without a knife stuck in it, you start to notice the real entertainment, the people. A medieval tavern is the original social media feed, loud, chaotic, half-true, and fully committed to oversharing. To your left, there's a red-faced farmer, already deep into his fourth ale, retelling the same story about his cow giving birth sideways. He slaps your shoulder mid-sentence like you're a lifelong friend, or a good replacement for the pig he usually drinks with. At the far end of the room, a hooded stranger sits in shadows, nursing a drink slowly. He could be a runaway monk, or a bandit, or just really bad at eye contact. Either way, you're not making small talk with him unless you want to disappear behind the stables. Near the hearth, a soldier in battered armour is regaling a group with tales of battle. His story involves dragons, Frenchmen, and a talking sword. It's definitely false. No one cares. His tankard is full, and his audience is laughing. There's a merchant, loud and sweaty, shouting prices for grain that no one asked for. He pulls gold coins from his pouch like a man begging to be robbed by midnight. A pair of locals play dice on a warped table, their expressions intense. One of them clearly cheats. The other knows and lets it happen, probably saving the fight for when his ale runs out. A bard strums in the corner, voice cracking on the high notes of a love song that sounds suspiciously like one he just made up. No one minds. He's wearing pants, and he's in tune. That's already better than last night's guy. Women wander through the crowd, some tavern staff, others working their own business. They're sharp-eyed, confident, and absolutely not to be trifled with. They'll flirt, laugh, or knock your teeth in depending on your tone. Children occasionally dart between legs, swiping leftover bread or coin. No one stops them. It's just part of the rhythm. Everyone is watching, drinking, plotting, and pretending not to notice the man slumped under the table. This tavern isn't just a place to eat and drink. It's a living, breathing performance. And tonight, you're part of the cast. Forget lutes and ballads for a moment. The real soundtrack of a medieval tavern isn't a song, it's a symphony of chaos. It begins with the clink of mugs, dozens of them slamming against wood in celebration, negotiation, or drunken misfire. Some clang cheerfully, others shatter completely. Both are met with cheers. Then comes the laughter. Big, loud, belly-deep laughter that sounds like it escaped from a wild boar. Most of it makes no sense. A farmer chuckles at his own joke about hay. A knight giggles at the word pottage. A monk wheezes uncontrollably every time someone says duck. You learn quickly not to ask. Voices layer over one another, each louder than the last, fighting for dominance like roosters in a coop. There's arguing, storytelling, shouting about taxes, and at least one person misquoting scripture to win a bet. The bartender yells orders while swatting flies. A barmaid shouts at a man who tried to grab her, and someone keeps repeating, "Another round," like a battle cry. And in the corner, the bard. With a half-tuned lute and 3 missing strings, he plays the same 4 chords on loop, occasionally bursting into verses about lost love, found chickens, or noblemen who wore their pants backwards. No one really listens, unless he starts singing about someone in the room, at which point things get very entertaining or very dangerous. Someone spills something. Someone burps loud enough to make the rafters tremble. Someone else falls off a bench and keeps talking from the floor like it's intentional. In the background, dogs bark, a goat bleats. Why is there a goat? And chairs scrape across dirt like thunderclaps in a wooden cavern. It's not peaceful, but it's oddly rhythmic. Occasionally the room goes quiet. Not by choice, just a sudden lull. It lasts exactly 3 seconds. Then someone farts heroically, and the music starts again. This isn't background noise. This is the tavern's heartbeat, raw, rowdy, and relentlessly alive. If you listen closely enough, it starts to make sense. A kind of harmony born from disorder. And like the rest of the tavern, it only gets louder the longer you stay. Once the ale starts flowing and the stew starts settling, the tavern transforms. It's no longer just a place to eat and drink. It becomes a medieval casino, minus the velvet ropes and with way more yelling. Gambling is the sport of the evening, and everyone plays, from weathered soldiers to barefoot boys with borrowed dice. There's no dealer, no pit boss, no regulation, just a cracked wooden table, a handful of copper coins, and the vague promise that someone's about to lose their dignity. Dice are the game of choice, carved from bone, wood, or whatever was lying around. They clatter across tabletops like rolling thunder, each toss followed by a mix of cheers, groans, and accusations of witchcraft. No one trusts the dice. Everyone uses them. Then there are cards, if you're in a more cultured part of town. Thick, hand-painted, worn to the edges, and always missing one or two. The rules shift based on who explains them. Sometimes you're trying to get the highest number. Other times you're matching symbols or just making it up as you go. It's like poker, but with more slapping. Wagers range from money to mugs to livestock. Yes, someone once bet a goat. Someone else bet their boots. And someone else bet their own freedom for the night. Spoiler, he lost. The regulars are slick. They shuffle quickly, roll slowly, and smile a little too wide. Cheating? Of course. It's half the fun. A hidden die here, a marked card there, a mysterious cough when the lucky player leans in. If you win big, you buy a round or risk getting jumped. If you lose badly, you smile, pretend you meant to, and slowly push your chair back toward the door. Side games erupt too. Arm wrestling, thumb wars, and the ever-popular who can drink the most without falling over. The winner earns applause. The loser earns a night under the table and a headache that lasts until next market day. But even when the rules are unclear and the stakes are absurd, the energy is addictive. Because in a medieval tavern, luck isn't just a game, it's a gamble with your purse, your pride, and possibly your pants. As the night deepens and the tavern fills with warmth and humidity, a new kind of performance takes the floor. One made of words, music, and confident nonsense. This is story time, medieval style. A bard clears his throat in the corner, gently plucking at a half-tuned lute, the strings squeaking like old boots. He's missing a few teeth, but not a bit of confidence. With a dramatic flourish, he launches into a ballad of heartbreak and heroism, something about a knight who fell in love with a mermaid and drowned nobly while reciting poetry. No one believes him. Everyone listens anyway. That's how it works here. Truth is optional. Entertainment is everything. Around the tables, others join in. Not bards, just patrons with ale-fueled bravery and a tale to tell. One man swears he once wrestled a bear and lived to drink about it. Another claims he saw a witch turn a cow into a goat. A third insists he's related to Charlemagne on his mother's cousin's side. Everyone's story begins with, "You won't believe this, but..." And they're right. We don't. But we want to. Boasts become ballads. Mishaps become myths. Someone tells a joke so bad it circles back to being good. Someone else recites a poem, likely plagiarized from a monk's scroll. The room claps, hoots, or throws bread, depending on the quality or quantity of the performance. If you're lucky, a skald or minstrel might be passing through. Professionals who travel from town to town, exchanging music for coins, meals, and occasionally a place to sleep indoors. Their songs are polished, their tales long, and their ability to rile up a crowd? Dangerous. But even they know the golden rule of tavern tales. Never let facts ruin a good story. In this smoke-filled room, with the fire crackling and the mugs sloshing, storytelling isn't just entertainment. It's tradition. It's connection. It's how you make friends, enemies, and the occasional lifelong drinking partner. By midnight, Half the tavern is reenacting the story of the one-legged knight who fought off 6 highwaymen with a ladle. You laugh, you cheer, you forget it's all made up. Because in a medieval tavern, every liar is a legend, if the story's good enough. As the night deepens and the ale keeps flowing, something changes in the air, a kind of boozy boldness. The bard is halfway through his 3rd song about unfaithful shepherdesses, and suddenly everyone's feeling romantic. Welcome to medieval flirting. Subtlety has left the building. It starts with eye contact, or at least one eye, slightly squinting through a mead-induced haze. A man with 2 remaining teeth leans across a bench and slurs, "Milady, your beauty burns brighter than the hearth." She responds by hurling a bread crust at his forehead. The room cheers. Others try their luck more gently, offering refilled mugs, clumsy compliments, or offers to help carry a bowl of stew so it doesn't spill. Spoiler, it still spills. If you're a woman in the tavern, staff, guest, or travelling merchant, you're likely used to fending off at least 3 would-be poets, 2 arm wrestlers, and 1 man who tries to impress you by balancing a knife on his nose. Sometimes it works. Usually, it ends with a black eye or an empty purse. For those actually seeking companionship, taverns offer more than just flirting. Courtesans work the room with practiced ease, knowing who has coin, who has charm, and who will pass out before making it to the stairs. Transactions are discreet, but the implications are loud. Jealous lovers? Oh yes. Nothing sparks a tavern fight faster than a stolen glance, a wandering hand, or a husband catching his wife laughing a little too hard at the bard's joke about bishops. Tables are overturned, mugs are weaponized, a bench gets broken in half, again. And yet, somewhere in the middle of all this chaos, genuine sparks fly. A shy baker's daughter and a travelling stonemason laugh over shared stew. 2 drunk farmers bond over a mutual hatred of turnips. A monk accidentally flirts with a nun. Love, or something like it, survives in even the rowdiest corners. Because in the medieval tavern, romance is equal parts charm, chance, and not falling face first into your bowl mid-sentence. You might win a heart, you might earn a slap. Either way, you're going to remember it, or at least hear about it the next morning. It was bound to happen. Maybe someone spilled a drink. Maybe someone accused someone else of cheating at dice. Maybe 2 people claimed the same bench and neither backed down. Or maybe someone said something about someone else's mother, goat or soup. Doesn't really matter. Suddenly it's on. The tavern, once a blur of music and mugs, turns on a dime. A stool flies. A tankard crashes to the floor. Someone yells, "Hold my bread!" and launches themselves over a bench with all the grace of a drunk catapult. No one is surprised. In fact, most people don't even stop drinking. A bar fight in the Middle Ages isn't rare, it's expected. It's practically a feature. And while it sounds terrifying, it's usually more comedic than deadly. People swing wildly, miss, trip, and land in someone's dinner. Hair is pulled, beards are grabbed, shirts are torn. The tavern keeper roars like a battlefield general while holding a ladle in one hand and a club in the other. Occasionally someone joins the fight with no idea why. They just saw action and leapt in, fists first. Others place informal bets, cheer, or slide their mugs out of splash range. Weapons? Rare. Most folks know better. Pulling a blade in a tavern can turn a casual brawl into a full-blown tavern legend, and no one wants to be banned from the only place that serves hot food and warm ale. Eventually, someone hits the floor and stays there. Someone else stumbles into a wall and decides that's as good a place as any to sit and rethink their life. The fight burns out like a tavern candle, suddenly and without ceremony. And here's the strange part. Once it's over, it's over. The fighters are separated, mugs are refilled, someone starts a song, and within 10 minutes, everyone is laughing again, including the guy with the bleeding nose. No grudges, no lawsuits, just bruises, stories, and maybe a new nickname like One-Eyed Arnold or Benchbreaker Bill. Because in a medieval tavern, a good fight, is just part of a good night. Messy, ridiculous, and weirdly bonding. And if no one gets hurt too badly, it's just another round of entertainment. So the brawl's over, the bard has passed out mid-ballad,